What's going on, everybody? This is Extra Biscuits from Biscuits and SEC. This is our new YouTube show that we've launched. We can't fit everything into an hour on Biscuits and SEC Live every single Wednesday. So now we've got more content coming to you over on YouTube. So be sure to go and subscribe if you're not already, Biscuits and SEC, as you can see down there. And you can follow us across all those channels, as you see right down there as well, at Biscuits and SEC across all of our social media channels. Today, we're talking Mizzou. We're previewing all the teams in the SEC going into 2026. And now we've got a very intriguing team, I think, this week. So Maggie Johnson is here to help us preview Mizzou. Maggie, what's going on today? How you doing?
Good. I'm glad you finally got a blue blood on the show. I'm doing great. Excited. I think we're just finally getting into, I think we're what is today? Wednesday. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks out from our first game. We play on Thursday. So we're just getting into the groove of the season.
I'm so excited to do that as well. Like, games are right around the corner. We were talking the other day with David Waters, the Gators Breakdown, about how we've gone from talking season. Now we're in awards preview season with all the lists coming out, the Doak Walker list, all that. And now that means, thank goodness, games are right around the corner. So folks, if you guys do not follow Maggie on Twitter or across social media for all of her Mizzou coverage, be sure to do that and go subscribe to her podcast, Mizzou That's Who. And then follow her over on X at Maggie L. Johnson, and then Instagram at Mags_J. And then you can be sure to follow the podcast across social media channels at KCSN Mizzou. So, all right, Maggie, there's a lot to talk about today here with Mizzou. But first, I want to start with something that kind of blew up on Twitter last week, which was everybody got angry that the AP poll ranked Mizzou 25th and decided that, well, the internet decided that Mizzou has been ranked every year and therefore overrated every single year in the preseason. You pointed out that that's not necessarily true. So walk us through that.
Not only is it not necessarily true, it's just not true at all. I don't know where this rumor kind of started. Some Purdue fan, media guy, I think, tweeted that Mizzou's always ranked, and it just so it can give teams like another ranked win, those top teams another ranked win, which is whatever. But when Mizzou joined the SEC in 2012, they were coming off of a pretty good end of their Big 12. You guys know, because you're Texas A&M guys. They were coming off a pretty good time, came into the SEC, had a lot of injuries, and then had that 2013 and 2014 season where they made the SEC championships. Both of those years, they were ranked the next year. So after 2013 season, they were preseason ranked. Then they were preseason ranked in that going into the 2015 season. After that, Mizzou was not preseason ranked until 2024. Until after we had our 2023 season, which we were also, pretty good. We went 11-2. So I don't know why everyone is just like, they're preseason ranked. They just give them the benefit of the doubt. It just doesn't happen. This is the fourth time Mizzou has been preseason ranked since they've joined the SEC in 2012. And honestly, why are we mad at who's ranked 21 through 25 anyways? Like, that part is the craziest part to me. But that's when you're in the SEC now. And I know we've been in here for a bit, but when Mizzou is getting under the skin of Ohio State fans, you're doing something right.
No kidding. And last time they played, might I remind everybody, I forget, can you remind me who won that game? Ohio State, Missouri?
Yes, I can remind you. The University of Missouri won that game.
Okay, thank you.
I know people were watching it. They were like, this game was boring. I mean, it was a not great offense versus not great offense. But I'd like to point out that Drinkwitz did take 3 knees to end that game. So that's why Mizzou didn't score more points than, they could have.
For sure. Okay, well, now that we got that out of the way, I think that's fair. Also, I think you're right. I think maybe we were talking pre-show that maybe people have you guys confused with Iowa. Maybe it's the colors. I actually wrote an article years ago it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago when Jimbo was still the coach at A&M about how, look, if nothing else, we keep it real here on Biscuits SEC. We'll tell you the truth, even if it's a hard truth. And as Texas A&M fans, I wrote an article basically saying Texas A&M is Iowa. We think we're way better than Iowa. We're not. We are Iowa, and look it up. And there's actually a lot of similarities if you go back and look. So I would even posit that people should be mad about A&M. Like, go back into our history. We are overrated all the time. Okay?
All the time.
Well, that's another
All
thing.
the time.
On3 released those rankings yesterday about the most overrated versus underrated teams, and I think they're based on preseason rankings and how they end up, in postseason. Mizzou is on the underrated list. So that's what's crazy to me too, is I'm like, why are we always saying Mizzou's always overrated when they're statistically not?
Yeah, nobody knows what they're talking about, but that's why it's talking season. We're all just talking. We're just blowing hot air until we get to games and we can actually talk about something. So let's actually talk about some substance here when it comes to Missouri. I want to talk a little bit about just kind of the vibes that are coming out of Columbia, and I want to tell you too, we do a Biscuit Index rating every single year. Okay, this season going into it, we gave Mizzou an 8, which is above average, like a pretty solid team. Really, what that means is nipping at the heels of the elite. Like, you're right on the edge there of the elite with a really good season, say a 10-win season this year, probably jump up to 9 or jump up to 10. But at 8, McDonald's crushed it this morning. Okay, nobody's upset with a McDonald's biscuit, right? They do a pretty darn good job, but it's not the best you've ever had. So with that in mind, just kind of give me your vibes around the Missouri program and where the fan base is feeling coming into 2026.
I think we're at that point where with every team, I think vibes are high because no one's lost a game yet. I would say our vibes are pretty high because we're excited about, having Austin Simmons. We struggled a little bit last year with Bo Pribula, and then he went through his injuries. And I think that really kind of kept us from being a little bit better of a team. We went 8-5, but 2 of those losses came with a true freshman third string quarterback playing, and we lost to Virginia, one of the best teams in the ACC, by 6 with that freshman playing in that bowl game. And they were one of the most experienced teams in college football last year. Virginia was. So, I think that we're excited. We've got a lot of good guys that came in from the portal, a lot of underrated guys that came in from the portal. So I'm excited for the season, but, we'll see how that comes, after, I would say, week 2. I think vibes will feel a little bit more after we go into Lawrence and see what happens.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's such a big rivalry game that I'm sure you could speak to the history of, and I'm so glad that is back, at least for the last 2 years, I suppose. But what a good way to start the season, more or less, with the old border war. That was one of the games, of course, that was lost in the Big 12. So what does that mean for that game to be back?
Oh, I think it's completely an underrated rivalry. And it's funny because people will be like, I didn't even know Mizzou and Kansas were rivals. It's one of the oldest rivalries in college football. In Power 4 college football, it dates back to the Civil War. It's Missouri and Kansas hate each other, not just the teams, like the entire states hate each other. Both schools teams are named after, like the Missouri Tigers were named after a group of people that were defending Columbia from the Confederate soldiers. So I think people just don't realize the magnitude of it. Like, these schools hate each other. Like, it is Iron Bowl, like, coded all over it. Everybody in Kansas City, you either live with, like, you married into, like, with somebody that went to the other school, or you work with somebody that went to the other school. Similar to Texas, you guys know. Like, you're always around Longhorns, or you're always around Baylor or something like that. That's how it is in Kansas City with Kansas and Mizzou.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm glad that game is back. And like you said, hopefully another resounding win coming in week 2 for Mizzou. But I want to just get your pretty broad question here. So feel free to take it anywhere you want. But I know there's a lot of new faces. That's kind of everyone with the transfer portal these days. Mizzou had some guys transfer out, a lot of guys that went pro, especially on that defense that was so good a year ago. So what's your biggest question mark heading into the season for Missouri?
I think it would be easy, and I know a lot of people are going to say that this is it, and it is, will Ahmad Hardy play? But my biggest thing, because I think that he will play, and I think that he'll play earlier than later. He won't play week 1. I'm not sure if he'd play week 2, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But my question mark is that defense, and it's really just that chemistry of that defense. Another thing with Mizzou is Mizzou's had very good defenses the past few years under Corey Batoon, and everybody thought when Blake Baker left and went to LSU that Mizzou was in so much trouble on the defensive side of the ball, and really they haven't missed a beat. I would argue that their defenses have been better than Blake Baker's defenses. So it's hard for me not to put that trust in them, but I feel like a lot of people think when Mizzou loses players that they're not replacing their players. They are. They're replacing, and they have great players playing behind them, which we'll talk about a little bit when we talk about some other guys that I'm really looking forward to seeing. But I like who we got in the portal to replace those secondary guys that left, to replace the Josiah Trotter who was drafted. I think we have really good pieces that could put us in that conversation again with having a very good to great defense.
So let's, I like that. And yes, we'll definitely get into some of these names when we talk about the offense, defense, and then maybe some of these, maybe some players that are off the radar a little bit. But let's talk about the offense here. You got Austin Simmons. You mentioned him. He's coming in at QB. Everybody's excited about him. Everybody was really excited about him last year in Oxford. And then it just, he gets injured and the whole thing just completely changes. He has no control over Trinidad Chambliss, becomes an unbelievable player. But I think Austin Simmons still has a lot to give, and he was a huge pickup for drinking the portal. You've also got Chip Lindsey coming in at offensive coordinator, and even Garrett Riley. People may forget Garrett Riley is now the QB coach for Austin Simmons. So I think Drink made some big pickups there. So just give me your expectations for this Tigers offense coming into 2026 with all these new pieces.
I like our offense a lot. I really do. I think we have one of the more experienced offensive lines. We return a lot of, I think most of the guys we're returning have seen a lot of significant playing time. Obviously, I think we have the best running back duo in the country in Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts. And here's the thing is the reason I didn't want to say like my question mark with that running game is because I have a lot of faith in Jamal Roberts. He played in a lot of games last year. He got a lot of snaps. And I've said this on a couple of podcasts, but their numbers, Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts' numbers were right. I mean, Jamal Roberts actually had more yards and yards per carry than Jadarian Price. So just the same things as Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. So I think that running back duo, I think won't really miss a beat, even if Ahmad Hardy kind of has to, skip a few games. But I love our tight end room with Brett Norfleet and Jordan Harris. They're massive, massive targets for Austin Simmons. When they're healthy, I think that they're hard to defend in the middle of the field, really for any linebackers. But yeah, I really like our pieces. I like our wide receiver room. We went and got Caden Lee from Ole Miss, who has a lot of chemistry already with Austin Simmons. We got Donovan Olubade, who was at Mizzou, and that Mizzou paid a lot of money to make sure that he stayed at Mizzou. He was an IMG guy, had some great one-handed catches. You probably saw some of those on that were posted on Twitter. And then we went out and got Caleb Goody from Cincinnati. So I really like our wide receiver room. I think that this offense with those new guys, because like you mentioned, Chip Lindsey, who's worked with Drake May at UNC, who's worked with Jarrett Stidham at Auburn, who's worked with these guys that have been very successful, very good college turned pro quarterbacks. I think with a guy like that, the sky is kind of the limit for what Austin Simmons can do. And I said this on an OU podcast last week. There is a reason, or if there's anything that Lane Kiffin has been good at, it's evaluating the quarterback position. There's a reason they wanted him at Ole Miss. And I trust Lane Kiffin's ability, especially because look what he did with Trinidad Chambliss. I trust his ability to go out, see a quarterback, and understand that guy could be something special. I think with the right tutelage, Austin Simmons could be something special at Mizzou.
That's awesome.
And it also opens up a lot because last year the issue with our offense was that everybody knew we were going to run the ball every time because Bo Pribula didn't really have an arm. So what did they do? They just stacked the box. So you'd have first, a run on first down, run on second down. Then you have a third and long that you're trying to convert, which you can't really convert because you can't throw the ball. So they, it was just, and then it was a punt. So it was just over and over again. But if you open that up, you open that field up where you have all these options, the offense can be insanely successful. You just have to, the passing game just has to be there.
Totally. And I think at this point in his tenure, especially, Drinkwitz he's proven a lot of things, but a couple of the things that come to mind are he can hire coaches effectively, right? He's hired a lot of good assistants. He's replaced a lot of good assistants that have gone elsewhere. And whether it's through the high school ranks or in the portal, he replaces guys that leave, whether that's to the NFL or somewhere else. Like you said, he does a good job of reloading. And, after Brady Cook was there, Bo Pribula comes in and he wasn't great, but Mizzou wins 8 games. And a lot of those were after he got hurt. I think y'all were like 6-1 before he got hurt. So even if it's not prototypical NFL quarterback, which Austin Simmons, I think, is probably more like that than Pribula is, but like Drink can get the most out of his team. And he can kind of, fit the system to work with what he has, as opposed to trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
No, I totally agree. He's done a great job bringing those assistants in, and people have doubted him every single time. They're like, oh, Corey Batoon, like, what has he proven? Well, he's proven to be pretty good, and I think we have one of the best running backs coaches in Curtis Looper. Our edge coach and Brian Early. I just think the guys that he's brought in have really bought in, and everybody really, and I know that Drink's a love him or hate him guy, but his players and his coaches, they love him. They talk about how smart he is all the time and how his players just like gravitate towards him. So, I mean, the outside world can talk about it, but really what's going on inside of the program is really positive.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well,
I was just going to say on this podcast, love him. We love Drink. Yeah. We love his quips. He's like must-see TV at SEC Media Days. When he's in an interview, like I watch as many interviews with him as I can, because he always makes me laugh. And he's super smart, and he's got the skins on the wall now to show that, like, hey, his method works. So go ahead, Hammer. Take us into the defense.
Yeah, I was just going to shift gears here. So, you mentioned the biggest question mark is that defense. I think it's all 11 starters are being replaced. We just talked about how Drink has done a good job of replacing guys and backfilling. So let us know what your expectations are and give us some names to watch. I know there's a lot of transfers. You picked up, I think, some all SEC guys from other schools. There's a couple of guys coming in from Oregon, or at least the state of Oregon, some JUCO, but there's a lot of talent coming in. So let us know your expectations and some names to watch out for.
Yeah, Mizzou does a really good job at going after some of those out of high school highly rated players that maybe didn't get the playing time they wanted. Like you said, got some guys from Oregon, got a couple guys from Miami, Michigan. A couple years ago, Chris McClellan came from Florida, and then Darius Smith, who I'd like to talk about a little bit on this show, came over from Georgia. So we've done a really good job at getting those high 4-stars that just haven't gotten that development yet and wanted a little bit more playing time. My most excited defensive player that we added was from Auburn, and that's in Robert Whittier Jr. He's a middle linebacker, maybe the best replacement we could have gotten for Josiah Trotter. I mean, he was, according to PFF, like an all SEC first team linebacker coming in. He had 67 tackles. He absolutely, we beat them in that game in overtime last year, but he absolutely killed us. I think he had 11 tackles. He's great. Very excited for him. I think him and Nicholas Rodriguez will be a really good tandem back there. And now Nicholas Rodriguez was a Tiger last year. The way that we rotate our linebackers, when you say not returning starters, to me, Nicholas Rodriguez, it was a starter. He played significant playing time. Sterling Webb is the other one that's returning. He was on the defensive line. He got that 5-5 or whatever that thing is. So he just got approved to come back. So those are the only two guys that we are returning. But yeah, we went out and we got a lot of players. We got Elijah Dotson from that plays cornerback from Michigan. I'm really excited about him. What is it? Jadon? I think it's Jadon. Jadon Blair. He's from Notre Dame. He adds a lot of talent, a lot of good size, speed to that secondary as well. So I'm excited about the guys we got. I'm not really that upset about the guys that entered the transfer portal, especially in the secondary, except I will say for Damon Wilson, who went to Miami, that was on the defensive line. Kind of a bummer. Thought he was going to go to the draft. It would have loved to keep him because I think that he would have, been a leader. And it always stinks too, because he was okay at Georgia. I think he would have been good at Georgia, but he came over and was a showstopper at Mizzou, like really, put his name out there. Everybody knew who he was. And then he goes to a school like Miami and will get drafted out of Miami as opposed to where his development kind of came from, which was at Mizzou. So you always kind of hate to see that happen. You understand because it is a money game, but I mean, it is what it is. But I'm still excited about who was behind those defensive players. I think they were, or those defensive line players, they were still really talented. Guys like Darius Smith that I mentioned a little bit earlier. The only reason he didn't play a lot is because he was playing behind those guys, because he was playing behind Zion Young and Damon Wilson. And it's hard, it's hard to really make a name for yourself when you're doing that. But he's put on like 10 pounds of muscle. He's 6'5", 6'5", 265, long, lean. I mean, athletic. He's kind of a freak. So I'm excited about him. I think we have a lot of good pieces, and I think the success of that defensive line, those new guys coming in on the defensive line, is going to be able to show if Mizzou can sustain the success on the defensive side of the ball that they've had the last couple of years. The defensive line will set that tone.
Got it. Well, you're really getting me excited for this defense because all those guys sound really good, and you're naming all the schools that they're coming in from, and I'm like, dang, yeah, he just backfills and he does it the right way. We may have to cut that segment though because you mentioned the number 5, and out of respect for Jaden Daniels at this moment in time, I think we may have to cut it. So anyway, but good work on the rest of it.
We'll say everybody is 6'4". We'll say everybody is 6'4" and 7/8. How about that?
There we go. Yeah, I like 6'4", too big at 2 bills
exactly.
on the weight. So, all right, you mentioned a lot of names there, and I think I want to just talk about maybe some players that are a little bit off the radar, and you can dive in and hone in on a couple of those players that you just mentioned. Maybe Darius Smith is a good one to talk about, or is there a couple others that maybe folks outside of Columbia, for our viewers, who should they be watching out for who may jump and make that leap and be like, oh, that guy from Mizzou is really playing really well that we may not know about right now?
One of them, I would say both. Do you care offense or defense? Does it not matter?
Either one. Go either way.
Both of our tight ends, really. Here's the thing: is everybody's heard of Brett Norfleet, 6'5", huge dude from Missouri, awesome kid. But really hasn't had the opportunity to show out because of his injuries or whatnot. So I'm really excited about him and his counterpart in Jordan Harris, another huge body. I think that they'll both be good in the middle of the field. Basically, like I said earlier, I don't know how these smaller guys can defend it. They also have great hands, can catch on the outside as well. Saw a lot of that in the Kansas game last year. And this one it's gonna sound kind of weird, but I'm gonna go with Blake Craig, who's our kicker, because people don't think about the fact that Mizzou lost their kicker week 1 last year. Week 1, we brought in a guy that was about to play his first game, I think, at a JUCO in Oklahoma because we didn't have a kicker. So Blake Craig went for a tackle, tore his ACL week 1 against Central Arkansas. We played that whole – so if you watched our special teams at all last season, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. We ended up firing our special teams coach. We brought in John Papuchis from Florida State and some of his assistants. He brought a punter with him. He also brought a kickoff guy, and Blake Craig's healthy. So the way that our offense can be more successful with just the fact that we have a kicking game, those games are way different. We lost to Bama by 3. We missed 2 field goals against Oklahoma. These things, they change the trajectory of what a season can be. And I just think having him back and people knowing that he's back, and that wasn't our stereotypical special teams, because you guys know who Harrison Mevis is. He kicked a 62-yard field goal against K-State. We're used to having these kickers that can come in and win those games. I think he's going to be extremely important, and he's a damn good kicker too.
That's good to know. Hey, Hammer, do you remember our kickers last year? Because we had 2, but we actually had none at Texas A&M. So we were well aware that the kicker really matters in this sport.
You do not realize. Yeah. And I mean, when Harrison Mevis was making those game-winning kicks, he did it against 2023. I think we had maybe about two walk-off kicks. It was that K-State one, Florida. We had that 4th and 17, I think, and we converted on that. But you just forget how important that position is, not only like to maybe win the game at the end, but just all throughout the game to make those kicks and not give your opponent such good field position, because we got to a point we had to go for it on 4th down, on maybe our own 40 or something, and you're giving teams short fields. You're giving Oklahoma a short field who didn't have a great offense, but when they only have to go 50, 60 yards as opposed to, 75, 80 yards, you're giving them too much advantage. So I really think that having a healthy special teams is going to make a big difference.
That is spectacular stuff. Not everywhere are you going to hear about Blake Craig, the Mizzou kicker, as someone to watch.
Hey, you said people that they're not going to know. I'm going to put his name out there.
I love it because you're right. It makes such a big impact. I mean, even just thinking, A&M's kicker was terrible last year. Mizzou's was terrible. Thinking on the flip side, Oklahoma doesn't make the playoff without their biker short kicker, because that guy, he could hit from anywhere, and they won multiple games thanks to his leg. So, yeah, you're spot on there. An often overlooked, the special teams getting a shout out from Maggie Johnson here. So Blake Craig, remember the name.
You remember, if he makes some game-winning kicks, if we finally get to the point where we're beating some of those ranked teams and it's a game-winning, you can clip this.
Clip this. Yep. Heard it here.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's transition into we can take a look at the schedule and what we think a successful season is. So I'm curious to know. I think the over/under set at like 6.5. We've been talking a lot about Missouri and how you trust in Drinkwitz. You're getting me pumped up for the Tigers this season. In your opinion, sitting in December, January, whenever the season ends for Mizzou, what would you look back on and be satisfied with as a successful season?
I think that the short answer here is that Mizzou wins the games that they're supposed to win, which they typically do, and they steal some of those wins that they're not supposed to win. I don't know if you've heard, all the rest of Twitter all knows, Mizzou's not good against ranked teams. They're not good against, teams with winning records, which, you only play who you play. You can't control South Carolina should have won more than 4 games last year. It's not our fault that they didn't utilize that well. But I think obviously you want to say the playoffs. And I'm going to sit here and tell you, I think every coach in that coaching room, in that locker room, thinks that Mizzou can make the playoffs. Now it's a tough schedule. I personally, I don't want to say would be happy. I think it's an okay successful season if we go like 8-4. Here's the thing that is kind of, I try to think about with the schedule, because you guys have seen it. We go on the road to Georgia. We go on the road to Ole Miss. We have you guys at home, Texas A&M at home. We have Texas at home. We have OU at home. We have Florida at home, who I think is going to be much better. It's a hard schedule. It's a very hard schedule. It's much harder than maybe we've had the last couple of years. So can 9-3 with wins, that's stealing 2 wins. Can 9-3 get you to that playoff cusp? And obviously it depends on what other teams do. And every team is now playing nine SEC games. So I think that there could be additional losses for multiple teams. There could be a lot of 9-3 teams that they're looking at as teams that could potentially be in. Now you can't lose to bad teams. You can't the 9-3, that can't be a Kentucky, or it can't be a Mississippi State. Like it has to be that Texas or at Georgia, at Ole Miss. Like it has to be those teams. I think 8-4 would be successful, but I think 9-3 could put you in the conversation. The only problem is how Mizzou doesn't get the benefit of the doubt in the rankings. And we've already talked about that a little bit. So where would they be sitting at that time at 9-3? Because some 9-3 teams might be ranked 11th, 10th or 11th, and Mizzou could be 9-3 and be ranked 22nd. So, I mean, I would love to say that a successful season is making the playoffs, but realistically, I think an 8-4 with a couple of steals would be pretty successful.
I think that's fair. Look, it's the SEC. All these schedules are tough. Just don't tell that to a Big Ten fan. But it is going to be tough for all these teams, right, to get through this nine game now SEC slate. So you walked us through most of it. So I want to bring up Mizzou's schedule and talk with you. Just talk through it a little bit, and then get a couple. Well, that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. Have you ever seen this note before? It was from Will the Blanket Lee. Might have been to Theo Weiss Jr.
Yeah,
Actually,
I have seen it. Okay,
okay. I just want to make sure. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I didn't write it. I don't know who wrote it. All I know is he's from St. Louis. So if it was I don't know, guys.
All right. Well, I have a better one for you. We like a good schedule reveal here at Biscuits at SEC. This has become one of our things. So I think I've got a little better one for you.
Oh yeah.
There you go. I think you'll enjoy Darth Drink a little bit more.
You know what's funny about that photo too is that he got so much crap for doing that. But literally the year before, Mullen walked out in his Darth Vader costume. So I'm like, why is everybody like, oh, Drink always has to start stuff? And I'm like, I don't think he started anything. I think he's responded.
No, he was responding on here.
Yeah. Personally, that's when I fell in love with him. When y'all beat Florida and he walked out with his lightsaber, immediately I thought, okay, this guy is awesome. I don't know what'll happen long term, but I was like, this guy is hilarious.
He is really funny.
Okay, so let's walk through it here. So you just told me about some of these different games that are happening, right? Well, my two questions for you here are: looking at this schedule, what do you think is like the hinge game? Okay, so if Mizzou loses this game, it's like, oh boy, okay, we might be in for it this season. Or you win this game and you're like, all right, we got some momentum. We might have a serious chance this year. And then off the back of that, I want to hear this over-under to me is crazy with Drink's history. So then tell me on the back end of that, like, do you think Mizzou gets over that 6.5 win mark?
So it's kind of a hard question because obviously we start SEC play at Mississippi State, who I think is going to be much better. Like, I think their defense is going to be much better. I don't think Ahmad Hardy's going to run for 300 yards like he did last year against them. However, I think it's really that next week, that Florida game. Because that kicks off Florida, at home A&M, then at Ole Miss before you have a bye. If you lose that game, you could potentially lose all three of those games because they're all, that's a hard 3 games in a row. And I think it kind of goes back to that 2023 season when Mizzou was playing K-State. If Mizzou loses that game to K-State, I think the season goes off the rails. It went off the rails for K-State. Honestly, their programs kind of went off the rails since Harrison Mevis made that kick. I think losing that game to Florida would just set you up to have a less than successful season, especially because we should be favored against them. So that would be a win that's taken away because like I said earlier, Mizzou is good at winning the games they're supposed to and not good at getting those upsets. So if you go into that game and you lose that game and you're upset by a team you should have beat, I think it will be kind of hard to recover from it.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's kind of the game I was looking at too. I'm looking at Mississippi State too. We just talked with Rivers Huey yesterday about Mississippi State, and Mississippi State, I agree. They're going to be a lot tougher than people think. Everybody just chalks that one up as a W, and you got to go to Starkville, and everybody has trouble in Starkville for whatever reason with the cowbell. So
we've struggled in Starkville. I mean, some of it was those Barry Odom days or whatever, and I know we beat them by quite a bit when we went there in 2024. But yeah, it's a different team. That's the thing is everybody wants to look at the logo. That's all they ever look at. They just want to look at the logo and be like, Mizzou can't be good. They're Mizzou. Mississippi State can't be good. They're Mississippi State. That's not how it works, especially not in the days of transfer portals and NIL and all of these things. Like, you can catch lightning in a bottle, like they did with Trinidad Chambliss, because I don't think that they're the same team last year. Ole Miss isn't the same team last year if they don't get a player like that. So you don't know who's going to be that breakout player like we had Ahmad Hardy last year. Mississippi State could have that breakout player. Kamario Taylor could could be that breakout player. You just don't know yet. That's another reason that preseason rankings are just kind of like meh to me, because you're basing everything off of, a lot of it's off logo, a lot of brand bias in there. And then it's just based off of what you saw last year when teams aren't the same. We have a whole new defense. We have a whole new guy that's leading the offense with Austin Simmons. So you don't know what's going to happen. But I will tell you that I'm not chalking. I'm giving us the win against Mississippi State, like when I'm looking at the schedule, but I'm not thinking that that's an easy win at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. So putting your money on the table, if you're giving me gambling advice, not financial advice, would you say we're going over 6.5 here? Do you trust Drink enough? This year we're going over 6.5?
Yeah, I have them over 6.5. I said this on a podcast the other day, and if people are listening, this isn't foolproof. Don't take my betting advice. I did a parlay. I took the Mizzou over at 6.5, the Oklahoma over at 7.5, which I said on the Oklahoma show that was criminal. I could not believe that they put them at 7.5, and then I took the Alabama over at 8.5. And that's based on history, and it's hard for they haven't won less than 9 games since before Saban was there or something, or maybe his first season or something like that crazy. So I took a parlay with those 3, just looking at the teams that we're favored against. That's 7. We should be favored against. That's 7 wins. So for me, I took it, and then they're good. I would love to see us steal a win from Oklahoma when they're fighting for a playoff. But during rivalry week, I'd love to see that. Obviously, I'd love to see us take a win against either A&M or Texas, because A&M has come in the past 2 years, or 2 years ago got whooped in College Station, and then last year, Matt Zollers had to start that game. Defense kept us in the game the entire first half. Like it was a good first half, and then all that weird thing happened at the end of the first half, and then it was just all downhill from there. But would love for a team to overlook us, to look past us, and to maybe potentially steal one of those wins. Even Ole Miss would be great, because you have Ahmad Hardy going and playing in his home state. You have Austin Simmons, who's playing against the team that he's played before. Kawan Lacey is playing against the team he played at before. So I think that's kind of actually an underrated matchup. But I would love if we could steal, one of those 4 games. I'm chalking Georgia up as a loss.
Yeah, I think
respectfully.
That's fair. Yeah, hey, you see that G, most people, except for maybe Alabama and a couple schools in the conference, just okay.
Maybe you guys will get play them in College Station one day. Isn't that what you haven't played them, or they are one of them you guys haven't been to?
No, you're right. They have not come to College Station for the entirety of the time that A&M has been in the SEC, which is absolutely insane. Although I will say, we are not complaining. So Greg Sankey, if you don't ever schedule them in, fine. That's no problem with us.
Congratulations. Because we've played them a lot. We've played Alabama a lot. We've played I guess this will only be our second time going to Ole Miss this year, but we've played everybody. So it's just kind of weird that you guys haven't, or they haven't been there.
It doesn't make any sense. It's totally nuts. But all right. So Maggie, we got one more question for you before we get you out of here. We do this with every one of our guests who has not been on yet. And that is talking a little bit about a favorite biscuit spot. But before you talk about this, I want to get into another place that I absolutely love. So for those who are not aware, I did a little stint in Kansas City. I lived in Kansas City for a couple months for a job years ago and fell in love with it. I mean, I lived in Lee Summit, which is just outside of Kansas City. I love the barbecue there. We got a little rivalry here, Texas barbecue versus Missouri and Kansas City barbecue. But I loved the burn ends. I loved Char Bar in Kansas City.
And I love Char Bar.
Char Bar is fantastic. Absolutely, highly, highly recommend that if you're going to be in the Kansas City area. And then the other thing I fell in love with, which I think you're going to know what this is. It's kind of around the Midwest more. It's not exactly a Missouri thing, but I had it in Missouri, and I think there's many around there. Casey's Pizza. Casey's breakfast pizza is amazing. I absolutely love it. So talk to me about that first.
So it's funny because I'm actually I was born in Omaha, but I am from the Iowa side. Casey's is a upper Midwest type of thing.
Yep.
I was raised on Casey's Pizza. It's funny. I drove to Lee Summit last weekend. I didn't send this to you because I didn't know you were going to ask me, but I stopped and got Casey's Pizza.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
And it
so
wasn't the
good.
breakfast pizza because it was in the afternoon, but all their pizza is great. But it is a staple. Like, people want to talk about Quick Trip, whatever. I mean, Missouri has a lot of Quick Trips. I think we're like the second most, maybe behind Texas or something, in Quick Trips. But Casey's breakfast pizza is where it's at. There will never be another one better. I know people are weird maybe about getting food in gas stations. I mean, Buc-ee's, whatever. But
not here.
It is the absolute best. Highly, highly recommended. If you're ever in the Midwest, just stop. Even if it's in the afternoon, stop and get a regular slice. It's awesome.
I'm totally with you. I wanted to talk about that with somebody else Missouri's its own thing, right? Like, it's like Southern Midwestern too. It's like right caught in the middle of all that.
It's the weirdest location. Nobody knows what it is.
The South kind of bleeds in with some of its culture, and the Midwest kind of bleeds in with some of its culture, and the breadbasket of America kind of thing. So, but when I went there, I had no clue what it was, and people would tell me that. They'd be like, oh, you've got to try Casey's Pizza, and you got to get the breakfast pizza and everything. And I'm like, a gas station pizza, guys? Come on, it can't be that good. And I had it. I was like, oh no, I'm all in. Like, I will sing the praises of Casey's forevermore. So
now you're gonna try to franchise it down there in Texas.
I surely will. Yeah, goodness. I'm gonna travel up, hopefully to Missouri soon, and I'm gonna get some Casey's Pizza. I haven't had it in so long. So for those out there, definitely, if you're headed up to a Mizzou game this fall, get some Casey's Pizza. So, all right, talk to me a little bit about your favorite biscuit spot, because you sent us in a picture, and I want you to walk me through where this is at.
So I used to live in this in South St. Louis. It was called South City, and there was a place called Russell's on Mackland. We went there for brunch. I mean, because we could walk there. We went there for brunch, I don't know, at least twice a month on a Saturday or a Sunday. Best biscuits I've ever had. They're massive. I mean, these are probably like, I don't know, 4x4, 5x5, like 3 layers of it. So you can kind of like rip them apart, and you always have leftovers. So good. Just the basic blackberry preserves, butter, honey. I mean, phenomenal. If you're in St. Louis, you're coming through St. Louis, Russell's on Mackland for brunch. Highly recommend. Get the table biscuits.
Man,
I'm so glad I found a photo to send to you too. I just got in my photo album. I'm like, I know I've taken like 18 of these to put on Instagram before. I just typed biscuits in. I'm like, there we go. There
it is. Phone eats first. I'm all about it, because we are very detail oriented here at Biscuits SEC. And looking at those biscuits, look at that square. Okay, that is an old school, old style recipe biscuit with that square, the way that they're baking them. And you can tell that's an old time recipe too. So yeah, just look at that picture. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend a biscuit more. Like, it was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, biscuits, yes, Russell's.
There we go.
Now I want some. So.
Yeah,
and my Saturdays are full. They only have them on weekends, so you can't only have the biscuits because it's like a brunch thing.
Only that.
My Saturdays are pretty booked in the fall. We don't have time for brunch. No brunch, no pumpkin patches. It's football season, so.
Well, I totally agree with that. I've been well known amongst friends, and I'll make it public now. I am a kind of a brunch hater, and I have a quota. I will go to brunch 3 times a year, but other than that, I am not going to brunch. I will go to lunch with you, or I will go to breakfast. But in the fall, especially, I'm totally with you. I'm not going to brunch.
Yeah, I'm honestly not even really a breakfast person. Like, I'm not, and I know a lot of people love that breakfast for dinner type of thing. I'm not one of those people. I typically will get like a sandwich at brunch. Like, I'm eating on the lunch menu. Except when I go there, I get the biscuits. Like, it's a non-negotiable for the table.
As you should. All right, everybody. That has been Maggie Johnson. That was a lot of fun talking Mizzou today. You can go follow her at Maggie L. Johnson on X, and then Instagram at Mags_J, and then go follow her at KCSN Mizzou, which is where you can find the Mizzou That's Who podcast and all of her coverage of the Missouri Tigers. So, Maggie, it has been a pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun talking Mizzou with you. Good luck to the Tigers this season. MIZ.
Thanks for having me. ZOU.